Hey guys, my name's Trapixium, and we are on the brink of war. Nicol Bolas is planning to invade Ravnica in 3 months. So with that in mind, I've been studying the Elder Dragon's plans and seeing what I could come up with from the lore. With that being said, let's get into what I think Bolas' plan is. Some of the best plans are one-sentence goals, and Bolas has one of those kinds of things. Reclaim pre-mending power comes to mind. But how could he go about reclaiming that kind of power? Pre-mending planeswalkers were gods, incapable of death, beings of pure mana. How do you go about getting that back? In Bolas' case, he is well connected, being one of the oldest beings in the multiverse, being around since Dominaria's first sunrise. Initially killing Ugin and trying to absorb the Conflux, both were stopped as Sarkhan went back in time and saved Ugin in Fate Reforged, and Ajani stopped him from taking the Conflux with an avatar equal to Bolas' power in the set Conflux. After that, Bolas kinda hid in the background for a bit, recovering from these fat L's he was taking. That's right, I said it, the dragon has had some setbacks, but it doesn't matter now as he's on a conquest of Ravnica. Now, in the lead up to this, he released the Eternals on Amonkhet and secured the Planar Bridge and the Immortal Sun. With that in mind, I had to ask the question, what do these have to do with one another? An examination of what they all are, the Eternals are an army of highly trained zombie warriors covered in a mineral that is incredibly hard to pierce called Lazotep. The Planar Bridge is an artifact that lets people without sparks travel the multiverse from a seemingly fixed location. The Immortal Sun turns off planeswalker sparks. But why Ravnica? Ravnica is home to quite a few different powerful beings and planeswalkers, and the way the plane is set up in the multiverse, it's coated in a thin veil of aether, which makes it so the spirits can't escape, which is why Ravnica has an afterlife, and this place called Agrim, for those who remember. Well, this is probably how it's going to work. Bolas is likely to have Zarek and Tezzeret set up the sun in the Izzet Guild Hall as a fancy experiment to show to Mizzet. The bridge is going to be sent with Tezzeret to Orzhova. The Eternals will enter from Orzhova, and Zarek will lock down the Guild Hall while all of Ravnica is invaded. So this wouldn't be a Bolas plan unless Bolas lived up to his own self-style of being a Deathbringer, harbinger of nightmares, overall edgelord. Bolas will come in through Orzhova, likely resurrecting all the dead in the church and enslaving most of the Syndicate, excluding Teysa and Karlov because plot armor. The Eternals will conduct a war in the streets and the citizens will be attacked. With the Izzet and Orzhov indisposed, that leaves the other 8 guilds to fight with the trapped planeswalkers. So let's go through what each guild will be doing. Boros and Azorius will be fighting the Eternals in the streets, head to head, and putting up one hell of a front while they're at it. They're going to have the whole legion. Golgari will probably be under the control of Vraska, which makes things pretty complicated as Bolas pretty much bought her out, so the Golgari will be under the control of Bolas as well, which means one thing, more Eternals. I can't say how Jace will interact with Vraska because this is not what that's about. The Simic are going to do what the Simic always do. Experiment but on captured Eternals in an attempt to figure out what they can do in the situation other than releasing the horde of experiments they have under lock and key. The experiments are going to vary from DNA splicing to reverse engineering, trying to figure out a better way to put down the Eternals. Selesnya is going to go all out in an attempt to assist the Boros and Azorius, with the war effort sending as much support as they possibly can to bolster the endless army that Ravnica is going to conjure. Just to get an idea, there won't be anything held back. The whole city is going to be mobilized. This will probably be the one time we see the guilds working together without issue. So with that in mind, we have the 3 guilds that are honestly really hard to predict. Dimir, Rakdos, and Gruul. The Gruul are going to invade the city, laying waste to anything and everything that has Eternals near it or around it. They are going to provide heavy artillery for the army. The Cult of Rakdos is obviously going to summon Rakdos himself and have him lead his army, but there's a problem with that. Bolas does have Liliana in his pocket, so fill in the blank. Liliana is going to do which of these? Yeah, I rest my case. So if my calculations are correct, Rakdos is going to die to Liliana Vess. So the last guild is none other than House Dimir, which doesn't exist, or so everyone thinks. Dimir is likely going to be setting up for arguably one of the biggest moves amongst all the guilds. I think Dimir is going to go for the throat. What do I mean by that? Well, Dimir has always been known to do the crazy stuff to enemies by whatever it takes to get ahead. So with that in mind, I place them in the background where they belong, only they're going to kidnap Tezzeret and Zarek and hold them for interrogation. Now, I don't know if you're aware of how House Dimir conducts interrogations, but with the help of what's left of the Izzet League, yeah, this isn't going to be pretty. But that's expected. We know that this is going to lock down the plane, and the guilds are going to do what the guilds do best. But what's Bolas gonna do? Bolas is going to go off on these displays of power that destroy some of the decadence that Ravnica holds. Guild halls are going to be burned. Civilians killed. Planeswalkers are gonna die. But for what? Well, this is going to be for a couple of things. 1, Bolas wants Mizzium. 2, Bolas wants the Nephilim. Why would Bolas want Mizzium? Mizzium is an incredibly durable metal that is also fireproof. If it were to be forged with a Lazotep, it could have the potential of being one of the strongest metals in the multiverse. If these were put to use on the Eternals, they would be virtually indestructible. So Bolas would have an unkillable, highly trained army incapable of sustaining damage. The Nephilim may be some of the worst 4-colored commanders in existence, and I personally find them to be horribly designed. And what better way to rework them than to give them new cards as particularly powerful creatures as they were in the lore. They spent the time before the Decamillennial in the ground, feasting on the corpse of a dragon, and that may be the power boost Bolas needs in the form of eating all the remaining Nephilim, because there's only 3. It's not an uncommon form of gaining power either. Bolas feasted on a planeswalking Leviathan for 10,000 years. In theory, once Bolas eats the Nephilim, he would then go on to eat the planeswalkers that are on Ravnica, and then just outright kill the targets too hard to capture or eat. Alright, so just to recap. Bolas is going to send Tezzeret and Zarek with the Sun and the Bridge. The Bridge is going to be set up in Orzhova. The Sun is going to be set up in Nivik's Guild Hall, likely as a display of grandeur to Niv Mizzet himself. The Eternals are going to come in through Orzhova, and Zarek is going to clear Nivik's as a way so that the Sun is not interrupted. After that, Bolas is going to appear, add more Eternals to the mix by manipulating the Church, by eternalizing everybody. All the dead. All of the dead are going to be under Bolas's control, and he is likely going to corrupt most of the Syndicate, except for 2 members, the leading membership, Teysa and Karl. After that, it's going to be a war in the streets, and the guilds are going to have to do it with 3 guilds down. Good luck. Aside from that, Bolas is going to do what he does best. He is going to mess with the guilds. He is going to mess with the planeswalkers mentally, being that nightmare personification he wants to be. He is going to destroy the town. He is going to kill planeswalkers. He is going to have Liliana kill Rakdos. Among other guild parents, I can honestly see Rakdos dying. It would make sense. He's a demon. Liliana kills demons with a chain veil. It's not hard to put 2 and 2 together. But aside from that, Bolas is going to take on all the challengers. He's going to, well, if it goes his way, he's going to defeat them. He's going to find the Nephilim, and he is going to eat them. And after he eats them, he's probably going to find a way to eat the surviving planeswalkers. But that's the plan anyway. This is Bolas's last shot. This isn't a confirmed thing that I've been discussing. It's just something that I've been thinking on for a bit, and feel free to discuss it in the comments. Like and subscribe, follow me on Twitter, and join the Discord. Links are in the description below. Thank you guys so much for watching, and may the Lotus watch over you.